Hello, this is Dimitri with UGears US, Ukidz LLC. Decided to restart the series of the assembly process. And I'm gonna go ahead and start with the first model that we had available. This is the mechanical Etui. I have one of the boxes that is already damaged, so I'm just gonna use it as is. Seems like the product is not damaged, it's just the box was a little bit destroyed during the shipping. The tools that I need or recommended, they're not required. I'm gonna use a little file, precision file I have here. I do have a little T candle, which is also helpful to lubricate the gears a little bit. I got a little box cutter knife, and I have a little cutter, so I'm gonna use them more like to grab onto a toothpick if I need to pull it out, or just cut it off if I need to cut it very close. So that should work. Alright, let's see how fast we can do this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and start assembling. Just gonna go step by step and see what is gonna take to put little box mechanical Etui together. So the process just starts out by taking all the plastic off. Make sure you don't spill the toothpicks that come with the unit. There should be somewhere inside. Here you go. And we do have, it comes with a set of instructions. Instructions are pretty simple, straightforward. They're all visual, so it tells you where to pull the part and what are the steps you need to take. So let's just go over a little recommendations. So when you see a picture like this, that means try to use the tea candle wax or candle wax. It has to be solid wax because the wood does absorb, so I wouldn't recommend to use anything like WD-40 or any kind of liquid lubricants. So the candle wax is one of the better ones. Ruler, obviously you'll need to check the size. Here, do not fully press the parts. There's a little cross or a little line across. This little warning to use the cutter or break off the piece. Obviously exclamation mark means to pay attention. Additional parts, that's the add plus sign, and then obviously where it shows the little knife on the board, that means to it's a pretty precise pieces, so just cut them out rather than just trying to push it out. There's a little helper tool that is shown on page 3. It is on the let's see which board it's going to be on. This is going to be on a, well, in my case I have a 1 in the middle. It's a tool number 0. So you just need to push it out, and as a recommendation there's a back side and the front side. So the back side, it's a little bit darker lines, that's where the laser goes through. The front side where it comes out, so it's a little cleaner. So you just push from the back towards the front. That way, if there is a fiber breaks off from the plywood, it's gonna break off on the actual board rather than on a part. So you just push it out. Sometimes if the part doesn't come out right away, just work it back and forth, and that should help it a little bit. So this is a part, and then let's go ahead and start with the assembly. The first, we do need the same board where that part was. We can put the other two aside, and we need this part number 3, pieces number 5, 6, 2, 4, 4, and 2 1s. So those are the parts that we need. Once again, you got a back face, you got a front face, so we're gonna go from the back towards the front, push it out, big wheel, part number 3. That's what I'm starting with, and then there's internal pieces. I would go from the front towards the back because obviously you want the fiber on the pieces rather than on the wheel itself. So I'm gonna go from the front towards the back face. And then you also need to check, see, that's where what I was talking about. So it's pulling the fiber from this leftover piece rather than from the wheel itself. from the gear. So one more thing, the reason why we need a file, there is a little pieces that are left off after the breakaway, and those are the ones that you want to clean off and maybe sand it out in a little bit. You can use a file. I've seen people using a nail polisher or nail filer, I should say, not polisher. You can use sandpaper, so anything that you can file with. Here's another piece that you want to break off and then file the rest. So it'll make a little smoother operation than it is. Than it would be with that piece on it. So we need number 4s, need number 2, number 1s, and as I said, if the pieces don't break off here easy, also you can pull this part of the board out and just work it back and forth. That will help to get these pieces out. Once again, if you break a board, it's okay as long as you don't break the part itself. So, and as I said, little file or sandpaper just to clean it off. Make sure that it's nice and smooth. And you can also work with your hands a little bit to break it off, so or to clean it off. Now we need parts number 5 and 6. I'll pull the little rectangles out and pull the parts out. I don't know why I just grabbed number 5. The sequence when to put it into the assembly doesn't really matter. I don't need these parts anymore. So big wheel, we got 5 and 6. 5s are going a little bit bigger slots with the 6 and the little thinner part goes inside the wheel, and then the 6 obviously this little cutout goes on the outside, and the indication that you see the direction, it should be the same as the number 5. So just put those in. Then we can lock it down with number 4. Obviously pay attention to the errors, whatever it is on the manual, in the instructions. So there's a little arrow showing clockwise, and that's what you want to do. So you want to do the arrow clockwise. And obviously it's 2 pieces, so both of them you want to do clockwise. So they match up, little openings match up. On the other side, you want to do number 2. Obviously, the slots are a little bit longer. On the pieces where it's thinner on assembly. So insert that, and then you got 2 little stars, and doesn't matter directionality in this case. But you put them over and make sure, well, they should match up. So it'll be nice and easy. It looks like it's a modified version from what I used to make before from my previous assembly, so yours might differ slightly. Let's open up the toothpicks, and the last step of the assembly, we just need to put 1 toothpick through. So the side which you're gonna go through, it doesn't matter, but if the toothpick doesn't go through immediately, try to play it back and forth a little bit. And then one more suggestion, you can put a little bit of wax on it. It might make it go through easier. If it doesn't go through, I'd recommend to use a different toothpick, because otherwise you're risking of breaking it or getting it stuck. Also, you can use the helper part. There's a little hole on here. Just put it over the toothpick and push it in. I try not to. I mean, it also might break the toothpick a little bit. Now, we didn't need to make a measurement, so we used the same part, and the toothpick has to stick out. So this portion has to be flushed. The portion, little side with the hole, needs to be flushed with the gears, and then the toothpick stick out only enough to go underneath this opening. So Just gotta push it a little bit further, and let's see, maybe a little bit more. So in this case I started with the wrong side, so I should have started from this side, then it would be easier. I just need to push it through a little bit, but now I have to kind of grab on a smaller piece and try to get it out by pushing it through. So almost there. I just don't have enough grip on the other portion, so now I'm going to use that little hole and kind of push the toothpick in a little bit. So now I have it enough with a measurement, so good. Now I can put it aside and go on to the next step, which is page number 5. And obviously we need to go on the same board and push pieces number 7, 9, 10, or 7, 8, 9, 10. Push those out. 2 8s. These are little tiny gears. 9 and 10 are on one little rectangle, so we can get the rectangle out completely and then just work one by one. As I mentioned, if it doesn't come out very easy, just work it back and forth a little bit, and then eventually it'll pop out. So get 10 out and then 9. So as I mentioned before, I'm not sure which revision I have, if it's a newer or older. The older units that I built, they were a little bit different, so it's possible that it is a new. Once again, even if you mix up the parts, you can figure it out, pair them up and see which one is which one is number 9, which one is number 10. They kind of have to interlock. We'll put these 2 little gears on top. Slide it through, kind of locking it in place, and then make sure when you insert the other 2 that they're matching with the back gears. So it's one, clean it off a little bit. It does say and recommend it to use the candle wax a little bit. I'm not gonna do it at this time. Just gonna do it a little bit later. So I got the assembly down. I just need a toothpick. Grab one, and then we need the measurement from this little side. So I'm gonna start pushing from the back. So it doesn't go very well. Once again, just lubricate it a little bit. That will give it a little more go, and you can push it through a little easier. Now, don't over push it, because I just did, and actually kind of hard with the lubricant to pull it back out. So the measurement, it has to go from the other end to here. So I'm almost there. Just need to push it a little bit back. I'm gonna use that little hole, and I think I did too much. Just right about right. And then it is recommended to use lubricant on both ends of the toothpick, and as well as on the gears. Using the lubricant on the gears will make a little bit better operation. Well, in some cases a lot better. So I'm gonna try to get a piece of candle rather than using a toothpick, and that way it's just easier application, so I can just go in between the gears and wipe it on a little bit just to give it a lubrication. And all around, and the same thing on this one. So it did say to use lubricant on the gear, on a little one, so I didn't use it in the beginning, but here put a little bit of candle wax on the toothpick and on a little gear, and just clean it off so it looks nicer. It doesn't look like glue or lubricant, and that's it. So next part that we have, we need a toothpick and number 16. So it's on the same board. Take number 16 and kind of applying pressure across the full face. We'll push it out. Then we need one more toothpick. And a little bit of lubricant. And I just broke the toothpick. So good thing there's plenty of them in the box. So don't worry if you break one off. You can just grab another one, and it looks like my hands are in the wax, so a little bit hard to wiggle it back and forth. So sometimes you just need to play around a little bit until you get the toothpick going through. One more hint that not all toothpicks are created equal, because they're all made in China, so they do have a different tolerances. So kind of pick the ones that might be a little bit thinner, and then it should go in a little bit easier. Here we go. And I got him from the other side, a little bit too far. There we go. So now it's the same assembly as on 5. Now page 5, the end. Now we're going onto the page number 6. We're still on the same board, so we got part number 11. Then we got also part number 12. Then we get it assembled in step number 1. So we are holding it with that little tongue up, and then with the piece number 12 on the right side. But it doesn't fit. Okay, just make sure you put it on the correct side, and then you need a toothpick, and I can use the one that I already have broken, so I can reuse that toothpick. Put a little bit lubricant on there so it goes through a little bit easier. And then I can just use the either break it off by hand, which usually if you hold it, or you can cut it with a knife, or do a little pre-cut and then just clean up the surface a little bit. Also, you can use the file, just file it off to make it nice and smooth. And then the next step is pieces number 15 and 14. And obviously 13 I can push it out right away because I'm going to insert it right after. So we have tongue up, this little piece number 12 on this right side, and then we're inserted from the right side. So the 15, which got a little bit thicker body, goes in the horizontal direction, with those little bosses towards the center, and then the 14 is goes into the other holes. Once again, the somewhat round cutout is on the outside. Right, and then number 13 with a little there's a little tongue in one of the ends, and the teeth on the front, so that the teeth go towards the these teeth right here. And then let's see, so that little tongue is supposed to face the hole, and then the teeth will face somewhat downward. That's how we insert everything together. And then one more toothpick, we measure it from that side, so let's push it from the opposite end. Once again, work it out, work it in a little bit. Once the parts settle, should go through a little bit easier. There you go. And then we're a little bit too far. So the measurement is once again against the face with the hole, so it has to fall into that little opening there. So just need a little bit more push, and we're good. So we're ready with another part. Now we're assembly of the box. So that's the next board that we have here. Got a box on it. So the step number 1 is pieces number 19. Got pieces number let's see, 17, which is right here, and 18. So with the box, little lines towards the back. 18, there's a little hole on here, so that one goes towards the lines. Just assemble it together, and then the other piece, the number 17 piece, is on the opposite end, so it's on your left side, also with a hole towards the back. And just push them together. Make sure they sit all the way towards the bottom of the box. Then another piece, the next piece, step number 2, is piece number 20. And then there's a little boss on here, so that goes towards the right side, and then you kind of insert it in that into those little holes. So the 2 little bosses. So we get a part of the box here. Then a part number 21. Goes towards the back, on the back, and that one should be able just to insert it. Nice box. And then pieces number, there's 24, 22, 23. So I got 22, 23 pulled out. We'll do these first. So with the cover opening towards you, the one with the teeth is gonna go on the right hand side with the teeth facing down, kind of like a little bit down. So just on that side, and then the other side, 23. Obviously there's only one way you can put it on that it sits nice and perfectly, is on that side. Now as far as 24, there's 2 different versions. So you got 24A and 24B. 24A, it's to create a box. 24B is more like for the business card holder. So there's a little bit opening cutout where you can put your finger in to lift up the gift, or not the gift card, but the business card. So I'm gonna use this one in that case. Kind of gives you both options, so you can pick and choose which one you want. So then the same thing as the back plate, you just insert it and make sure it fully sits into the box. Alright, and the next step, and that's shown on what I just explained, the 24A, 24B, just to show you that there's two different boxes. So, and then the last step for the box is the pieces number 25 and 26. So the 26 goes on the back, and a little boss of the cover, like a little hook. So just make sure it sits all the way on there. And then the piece number 25, that one doesn't matter which way you push it out, as long as you're able to push it out. It's a little hard because the smaller piece is a little bit tough to push out from the box. And then that one you just insert into the sides here and use the helper tool, make sure it's kind of lined up on there so it's easier to insert. Lined up with the holes, both holes. And then you push it as far as you can, and then you use the helper tool just to kind of finish the job and push it all the way through. So it has to be flush on the inside, just like that. Flush, totally flush, and then it sticks out on the opposite, on the outside. So same thing we're doing on the right side and the left side. So both ends, there's a little sticks there, and put a little bit of lubricant on there on both sides, candle wax, just to make them smoother in opening operation. Maybe a little bit too much. The next step is the bigger pieces. So we have a front, and that's the one we're gonna start with. So the front, once again, we're going from back towards the front to push it out from the main board. And then the inner board, we're gonna go from the front towards the back. So the fibers, when they break off, they break off from the internal piece rather than from external. Then we do need number 28. And we need 1, 2, 3, 4 on this one. Once again, just work it back and forth. That will help you to push them out from the boards. And just insert it in the little holes. When you push it, make sure you have enough support on that little piece number 27, because if you got it hanging or something, it's easy to crack it. So just, especially where you insert the parts. Kind of start it on the table and then just work it in a little bit after you start it. To work it all the way to the end. So we're good with number 27, we're gonna put it aside, and then we're gonna go on to number 29, kind of same thing. The main part, push from the board from back to front, and then the inner piece from front to back. Clean it off, all the extra parts, and then once again we need more number 28s. With the little pieces, gotta be a little bit careful with them. Sometimes they do fall apart as they're tiny. There's some of the parts that are extras, just in case if you break them off. But if you do break any pieces during assembly, just go on our website, UGears.us, and there you can find a link there for the part replacement procedure. So we can replace the part for you, not a problem. Just we do need a couple pictures. So we're part number 29, and we do 28s. There's 2 little holes on the right side, and then 2 on the top. So make sure you insert it from that direction. That the little part with the circle burned in is on the right side, because we want these parts to match up. And this is the exclamation part, the part that we have on the assembly instructions, just to make sure that you're doing the correct thing. All right. So step number 3 is holders for the box. So we got 2 parts number 30 and then 2 31s. They're identical and they have to be a mirror image of each other. So one goes to the right with the little larger side or larger boss on the top. Once again, just to the end, make sure they're almost flush. And then the other one is a mirror image. So just insert it from the other side. Alright, and then go ahead and put them onto the main assembly, so your gears facing towards you. These little number 31 pieces towards the inside, and then just like that. And then the opposite end, make sure you got that circle on the back. And so these little 28s are on the left side now. And then you just insert it and make sure they're all the way to the end. Alright, so the next step, you need to make sure that we don't snap these together. I did forget to insert in step number 4 this little piece here that we created earlier. So I'm gonna do that now, and you need to make sure that these little 2 cylinders towards the back. So I'm gonna go ahead and separate it a little bit. Put that piece in there. And reinsert it. There you go. Now it's in place. And now we can put in the box. So these little pieces that are sticking out going in the holes. So you kind of like need to separate it a little bit. It shouldn't be a problem, and just insert it in the hole so the box is in. And it goes up and down. And we're almost at the end, page number 9. Just a couple pieces that we need to insert. So with the tongue up, this with the lever going on the left side, put in this little arm, and a couple little things. Make sure that it sits. When you insert it, make sure that sits on the little cylinder that we just put in on the previous step, the lever, and then also the teeth of the gear are engaged with the teeth of the gear on the box. So as you can see, it does sit on these little, can adjust it a little bit, on a little cylinder, and the teeth are engaged with the box closed. This is on the back, so kind of like when you move it back up and down, it does lift the box up. And then we use numbers 32 to lock all that in place. And there's one piece, number 33, which goes on the right side, the little boss towards the back, that will stop the box from going beyond of where it's supposed to go. So it'll kind of break it a little bit, break the movement of the box. So these numbers 32, clean off the fibers a little bit. They will hold the box together. From falling apart. So just check the operation, everything is good, and then the last step is to insert the big gear, and then so you make sure that the little gear, small gear is on the back and engaged with the lever. Pull it apart a little bit, so the movement is there. They're just a little bit tight right now, but make sure it does go up and down. So when you open it, you can move the lever up and down just to check, make sure the movement in there. And then the last piece is we insert that little flywheel. So with the, obviously to engage with the main gear, make sure the teeth are engaged, and then you can slightly adjust that on the toothpick. So now it does have the operation, and the last step that we need to make sure is that there is no interference anywhere. It looks like there is a slight interference with the arm, because it is a plywood, so there might be a little bit warp. So I would just move that big gear a little bit on the toothpick. And play around a little bit. get the operation going. So it is a plywood and it will have some friction to it. So for the nice and smooth, perfect operation, it will take a little bit of time playing back and forth. A little bit of adjustment, but as long as the operation is there, so it's good to go. So one of the things that I see right away where the operation might not be very smooth is that flywheel. My toothpick might be a little bit too big, and actually on the other one too. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut off a little bit of on both ends. That might give me a little bit more movement, and I'm gonna do it on a big gear too, so I can kind of see it because it's spreading apart these two front faces, or front and back face. So I'm just chopping off a little bit of the toothpick on both ends, just to give it a little bit. Don't chop off too much, because otherwise it's not going to hold. So here we go, much better. And then the flywheel on the back. Alright, make sure everything is in the holes. So now I don't have any deformation, but still a little bit of. Let's see, if we take the flywheel away, just check the operation, and move the gear on the toothpick a little bit, just to prevent a little interference. And then I put a flywheel at the end. And I think I might have chopped off a little bit too much. I still see some interference on the flywheel, so I'm going to take off a little bit more of the toothpick on that. One of the ends. And I just broke it off. Once again, mechanical connection, very easy to fix. Just take the old toothpick out. We have some replacement ones laying around, and you just insert the replacement one. And don't forget to chop off a little bit from each end to make sure it doesn't give too much interference. We got the operation up and down, but with a little bit of force, so we need to work it back and forth a little bit until the plywood adjusts and everything starts operating nice and smoothly. Once again, I think, yeah, it works very good without the flywheel, so it looks like the flywheel might be a little bit too tight on there, so I'll take a little bit more off just to get it a little bit smoother or easier operation. Here we go. Nope. And one more thing. Put a little bit of lubricant on a toothpick to get it going smoother inside the holes. there. So I'm just going to work it back and forth until I break it off. Almost there. It does start to go back. It doesn't have enough leverage to do it. Let's see. What if we put a little bit of weight? So we get to troubleshoot a little bit too. Maybe a little bit. Here you go. Come on. So I almost got it working to the way it's supposed to be. A little bit lubricant on the main gear too, just to be sure. Make sure all gears are engaged. Of surgery on a flywheel. Just enough to hold it in place that it doesn't fall out, but it's not too tight that it prevents from the movement. Here we go, we're already halfway through. Just needs a little bit more energy to shut it down. Not too much though. We got it working. So this is it. So both gears working when it's in a horizontal position, obviously, and up and down closes. So a little bit of adjustment, minor working, and then as I said, there's a little bit of friction with the plywood. So once you put the business cards in there, it will be operating much smoother. And after a few times. One more thing I would do is probably, so it does open and close. If that's with the toothpicks a little bit tough, as I mentioned before, they don't come equal. So you can try to see if you can get a shorter one, or maybe file off a little bit for the hole. But it seems like now I have the box operational, so and it does interfere once in a while, but after some adjustments, it should be working just fine. So this is the end of this one. If there are any questions, please send me email, reply to this video. Any problems, also email. It's info@ugears.us. You can also go on our website. There is videos for all other models. As I said, I'm restarting the video, so I'm going to be doing one model at a time, going from the front to the back. So Etui is the first one. Next one's going to be theater. We have the video already available. So the tractor, I think there is a video also online. So the timer is there. So trailer is going to be the next video you're going to see. Please visit UGears.us. We have all the product available. It is in stock, ready to ship, right in time for the holidays. And email us with any questions. Thanks. It was Dimitri with UGears US, Ukidz LLC, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.